Okay, so just did some tests. I don't know if I'm going to put this after the video or before. I just wanted to explain a few things here. I wanted to find out, I've done this with all my cameras to find out what picture style that I like. And for when I first started out, like most of you, you probably hear some of the, the YouTube famous gurus explaining things about cameras. And a lot of times you're going to always hear, just turn everything down, make it as flat as possible. And I'm saying this because I get lots of questions on that. People email me personal questions on what picture style do I use? Should they shoot, as flat as they can get? And really, it's always been a debate, but when you're going flat, that's kind of stealing the ideas from Hollywood. They'll shoot flat, but they're using really high quality cameras with really good codecs, probably shooting RAW, and we can get into the whole color space and color bit depth and all that stuff, but their cameras, excuse me, their cameras are taking in a lot of information, a lot of color information. So when they shoot flat, their colorists can bring back the colors and really manipulate the colors really beautifully. However, if you're shooting on a DSLR and you're shooting with a codec that's a 420, which means they're throwing out the camera's throwing out a whole bunch of color information before it goes at the card, and you're turning all your settings down, and then in post you're trying to bring those back up. For one, most people that ask me those questions, not all, but most of them, they're not that great colorists to begin with, or they've never even tried it before. So they're shooting their camera, super flat, and then they ask me, hey, why doesn't my footage look, really pretty when I'm done? And I think it's is you're turning all the color down, everything down in camera, making it flat, where your camera's already throwing out a whole bunch of information, and then you might not be a good colorist to bring that back, and even if you are a good colorist, you have all that loss of information. So, it is kind of tricky to bring those colors back. So there's always a debate on getting it to look right in camera or just shooting everything flat and then basically fixing it in post how you want. My opinion over the years changed. Working with different clients, I would always shoot flat, but then I would have clients that would hire me to do documentary interviews and all that stuff, and I know they don't want a flat image, and I talked to them before the work, and they just want to edit it. So I would always set my camera up for those type of clients and then shoot flat for other clients or for myself. But through the years, I found it's not always best. A lot of times it's not always best to shoot flat, So that's why I have the settings that I do, is I already got a pretty good looking image here by not turning the color all the way down, letting the camera do it, because the camera is doing the color really well. But you make sure no matter what style you shoot in, if you shoot flat or whatever, you have to nail the white balance. And on the back of here is a gray card, and before the video started I made sure that we nailed the white balance. So by keeping the saturation at 0 on some of these picture styles and only taking the contrast down by 2, that would really depend on the scene. Like this scene here, this is probably the darkest corner in the scene, and it's not necessary to go all the way flat on there. -2 I find is great for most situations. Sharpness I keep at 0. I'm going to check to see if it's too sharp or how that's working. Maybe I'll turn that down, because sharpness is one of those things that if the image is just like too sharp, then you can't really do too much about it. There's a couple techniques you can do, but that's one thing I might change after watching these videos, if sharpness is okay with my lenses and stuff. But I think it's best to get it pretty close to what you want it to look like in camera. Now, if you're going to do a short film or something that's going to require a artistic color grade to the film, then let's say you put this on portrait and you've got the camera set up with like just beautiful natural colors, excuse me, like I have going on here, then then you're going to be pushing around colors you might not want to be pushing. Then you might want to go a little less on color. But for the most part, and I think for most people, I would say get it to look right in camera. So that's what I've done here. You've seen the me go through my picture profiles, and now I'm going to go to the camera and color grade this, and you're going to see that in the post, I don't know, maybe I'll do a tutorial on the color grading techniques that I do, but you're going to see it doesn't take a whole lot to bring this video to look really good. Now if I shoot flat, I'm a pretty good colorist, but even when I shoot flat, I spend a lot more time getting the skin tones right opposed to the other colors in the scene, and it just takes a lot more work. So in my opinion, I say don't go super flat, don't go complete, I would never push the settings in these picture profiles above 0. I would keep it at 0 or just back off like 1 or 2 on each of them or something like that. That way you can bring the colors back and it looks nice. I've got my color chart here so I can keep track of that. I'm going to be doing different picture styles again, also with that iDynamic off and on and stuff. Right now I am on portrait, and I've narrowed it down to I like portrait, what is it, standard, and Cine V, but I'm gearing more toward portrait and standard. So I'm going to do 3 examples of the 3 that I'm narrowing it down to that I want to use. And right now I am using my app here. Right now I am on portrait, and all the settings are the same on all of these picture profiles I'm going to do, because I figured that I like the way they look. And that is contrast -2, noise reduction all the way to 0, because I would rather have a sharper image and a little bit of noise in the image rather than noise reduction, you know, kind of mucking up the shots or making it a little smudgy and stuff. I rather just deal with noise instead of a smudgy image. So that's why I choose to turn the noise reduction all the way down. And color is at 0, which is in the middle, and sharpness is at 0 in the middle. Yeah, so this is portrait with those settings, and right now we are iDynamic off. So I'm going to go through these 3 with the same settings, and then I'm going to do it again with that iDynamic on another setting. So that's what this is. This is portrait, and this is what it looks like. Okay, now we are set up to standard with iDynamic off, contrast -2, noise reduction all the way to -5, and everything else at 0. Sharpening and color is at 0. So this is what standard looks like. Okay, now we are on Cine V, or Cine like V, or whatever it's called, and settings are the same. What is that called? iDynamic is off, and we are at -2 contrast. We are at 0 sharpening, -5 noise reduction, and 0 color. So this is Cine V. Okay, now we are back on portrait, and the only thing I changed was I turned iDynamic on standard. I find that standard does pretty good at lifting the shadows, and if I haven't explained this already on other clips that we might add into this video, is iDynamic is basically what you can do in post when you like raise the mids or the shadows. That's what iDynamic is doing in camera. It's actually kind of nice. All these settings really depend on what you're looking for. I find that if you put iDynamic on high, it's almost like an HDR-ish image. It doesn't look garish, but it'll bring out your shadows so much where if you're trying, like I'm using a big softbox here, and I want a little bit of contrast in the scene. I want this side of my face to be a little bit darker than the other, whichever. When I look at this, it's backwards. I want one side of my face to be darker than the other, and I want the background to be a little bit more dim than I am lit. So when you use iDynamic high, it tends to just brighten everything up, so it kind of kills your painting the scene with light. So keeping it at standard actually is giving you more dynamic range in camera. However, if you kept it off and just boosted your shadows in post, it's the same thing. And iDynamic does not create more noise. All it's doing is revealing the noise that's already there. Just like in post, if iDynamic's off and you raise the mids, then you're going to reveal the noise. It's not creating more noise. So iDynamic, some people will say it's noisier, and it's not. It's just revealing more noise. And if you don't want to reveal the noise, well, don't raise it. But somewhere along the line through color grading or whatever, you're probably going to raise it, maybe, whatever. But keep that in mind. So now we're going to switch to the next standard. Okay, so here we are on, let me check for sure. Yep, standard. All the settings are the same. -2 contrast, 0 sharpening, -5 noise reduction, color set at 0, and now we are on iDynamic medium. And as I explained, I think it works actually pretty well. And this is standard. Okay, so here I am on Cine V with iDynamic on medium and contrast -2, saturation 0, noise reduction -5, and saturation 0, sharpening at 0. The same settings. And this is Cine V. And we're just going to see, or what I'm doing is these tests with the color chart to see what I think holds up best as far as color is concerned. And yeah, so this is Cine V. Okay, so this test is, we have Cine we are on iDynamic is on, it's in the middle. I think it's called standard actually, or medium. I can't remember what it says, but it's in the middle. It's not on auto, it's not on low, it's not on high, it's in the middle. And we're going to go through these, the 3 picture styles that I like the most, and this is with the noise reduction set to 0. So it's like, it's in the middle. It's not completely off, it's not completely on, it's in the middle. And the reason I'm doing this is to see if there's any difference, not just in noise, but also some people complain about like these new digital cameras, especially from Panasonic, look too much like digital or look too crisp, look too brittle, less filmic looking. And I kind of notice if you, basically what you do when you turn on noise reduction, it softens it up just a little bit to get rid of that really harsh type hard edges and all that stuff. So it's up to you if you want a really clean, sharp image, turn it all the way to -5, that's noise reduction. If you want to kind of soften it up just a little bit, because the lenses on these Panasonic cameras are super sharp. So I figured by putting it on 0 noise reduction, it softens it up just a little bit and might help out in noise as well. So we'll go through these settings to see what that looks like, if it makes any difference. What did I say this was? This is portrait. And the next one we will go to standard. Okay, so here we are on standard. Just like the last one, everything's the same. But this time around we're using the noise reduction set to 0. I don't think I'd ever go up above this, and I would probably keep it at -5. But I'll get into the computer and look to see if these what this looks like. So this is standard. Okay, so here I am on Cine V. I think that is what it's called, right? Cine V or Cine V. I can't remember what it's called. Same as the settings, everything's the same, except now we have the noise reduction turned on to see what that'll do to the image. Okay, everybody, so I did all the tests. I'm going to speak really quick because I don't want this to be too long, but through all my tests, and you've probably, I don't know if I'm going to show this after or before or whatever. I don't know where I'm going to edit this because I'm just kind of throwing this together, but I've come to my conclusion that I just like standard with the iDynamic on medium and noise reduction turned all the way down, contrast -2, saturation at 0, and sharpness at 0. Now that's kind of like a one-stop shop, the place I'm going to have my camera. But depending on the scene and the lighting and all that, I may, decrease the, maybe not decrease the saturation, but if there's a lot of reds or other colors like that in the scene, maybe I'll decrease the saturation, and perhaps depending on the scene, the contrast. But for the most part, this is the picture style I'm going with. That's what I'm shooting this right now at the settings I just said. So that's my conclusion for now. If I end up changing my keep looking at my app just in case you wondering what I'm looking at. In case I change my mind, I will post that for sure. And if you like what you see here, that's the settings. So Aaron J. Anderson, photography.com is where you can find my website. It's mainly a portfolio, but some of these videos I put on some pages detailed like still images from the this footage. So maybe if you go there, go under the Panasonic G7 page, and maybe under this video I'll put some side-by-side examples of all the different picture styles. So anyways, I'm out of here. Talk to you later. Bye.